Okay, good day. We welcome you to this conversation, accounting. And so what we're trying to do is to at least have a glimpse understanding of what accounting errors are. And what I'll do is that we try to explain the concepts, show you the examples. So one of the examples here, that's what we're just going to do right here. So let's start from the different types of errors that we actually find. So the first error, right? With the errors of commission, this is where the transaction is completely omitted from the books. So if we, let's say, sell some goods to, who is this one here with the 90 kwacha, and we don't record the transaction either in the sales account or in the sales business account. So that transaction is called, that error is called commission. The second error we have type of errors. This type of error occurs when the correct amount is entered, but in the person's account. The keyword is that the transaction is entered Eleven kwacha to save it, then into K Green's account. So observe that the correct class of account is used. When you're dealing with the error of commission, the correct class of the account is actually used. Yeah. So that's the tail. The error of principle, the errors of principle is the third one. With the errors of principle is where an item is entered in the wrong class of account. Wrong class of account, where we make entries in the wrong class of account. That's the error. Our principle, for example, if we purchase a fixed asset, it's non-current asset, for example, the van, and then we debit this transaction in the expenses account, such as maybe the water expenses account. So that error is principle. The fourth one that we need to talk about is the error of compensating, like the compensating errors. So with the compensating errors, these errors, they cancel each other out. These are the errors that cancel each other out. So for example, if the sales account is added by 10 kwacha March, and the purchases account is also added by 10 kwacha March. So you'll observe that both the debit side of the trial balance and the credit side increases by the same amount. Let's say the debit side has increased by 10 kwacha, and then the credit side is by 10 kwacha. Then what you'll observe is that both sides, the credit and the debit side, they have increased by the same amount. So what will happen is the transactions will just cancel each other out. So such errors, we call them compensating errors. Any question? Do I have any question? Oh, you don't have any questions? Okay, thank you very much. We can progress and look at the errors of original entry. One, the original figure is incorrect, yet double entry is still observed using the incorrect figure. So take example, if you are to make sales of goods that are worth 150 kwacha, then instead of recording 150 kwacha, you record 130 kwacha, and this 1/3 is recorded both on the debit and on the credit side. They say you can record in the sales account, and you also record it in the person recording. You have just recorded 130, and this 130 has reflected on both sides of the trial balance. So the trial balance will still balance even if there's this error. Okay, this error is called the error of original entry. Let's look at the error of complete reversal of entries. The complete reversal of entries. This is where the correct accounts are used, but each item is shown on the wrong side of the account. I repeat, supposition, let's say we are supposed to make a payment using a check to D. Williams. William worthy is 400 kwacha, and then the double entry, the correct double entry actually is supposed to be you credit the bank account since we are given out, and then you debit the Williams account because he's the one who is supposed to receive. But in the error, you make this error by crediting Williams, who was supposed to be debit, right? You credit Williams 200 kwacha, and then you debit the bank account. Then the trial balance will still balance. How do you correct this error? You actually have to begin by giving Williams the amount that you got from him. Remember, you were supposed to give 200 kwacha, but you took 200 kwacha out of his account. So you're supposed to give him back his 200 kwacha, and then you have to give him the 200 kwacha that you, by principle, you are supposed to give him. So when you look at the two amounts, it's basically the multiplication of the principal amount by 2. You will multiply the amount under concern by 2. So you give him a 400. First 200 being the amount that you're paying back to him is 200, and plus the 200 that you give. Question. Any question? Number 7, transposition errors. What about the transposition errors? The transposition errors is where actually the wrong sequence swatcher, then you enter 124. Basically, the numbers are transposed, right? The numbers are moved. So that type of error is called transposition error. The numbers, if you look at the transposition error, they look similar. So what will happen? The numbers are swapped or moved under the transposition error. It's 124. Trial balance. So you find that the trial balance still balances. Okay. So any question? Do you have any questions, guys? Okay, you don't have questions. Okay, thank you. We continue now. We look at some few examples. Let's see now how do we make a journal entries? Okay, how do we actually make the journal entries exposed to the following errors? Number 1, the error of omission. First example, it says that the sale of goods worth 59 kwacha to George has been completely omitted from the books. So how do we correct this error? You made sales to George, meaning George was supposed to be debited, right, to receive, but you didn't record this transaction. So how do you correct the error? Correction, you debit George, and then you credit the sales account. So usually what you have to bear in mind is that the account, the receiving account, the one that you're debiting is always the one that it's the one that you start with, actually. Then the one that you are crediting for the given account is the one that you end with. Then you give a narration, and a simple narration would be uh, the error of omission, the error of omission, the error of omission is now corrected, is now corrected. So the error of omission is now corrected. So that's a simple narration that you can actually give. You don't just write the do nots without narrating. You write the do nots and then you give a very short narration. They are all. Then the other type of errors that we can look at, we can have an example under the error of omission. We say this is where you have the correct class, but the amount is entered in the person's account. An example is a purchase of goods worth 44 kwacha of Simmons, C. Simmons. Yeah, I was saying that the correct entry that you do is actually to debit. You have to debit the person who is supposed to be debit. In this respect, we are talking about C. Is this one Simpson, right? You credited Simpson. Simpson was not supposed to be credited. So the correct entry should be credit Simpson, right? Credit Simpson. Sorry, sorry. I mean you debit Simpson and you credit Simmons. You know these names are a little bit similar. Yeah. So you credit Simmons, then you debit Simpson. Yeah. Then you make a short narration. You say the error of omission is now corrected. Let's have an example on the error of principle. So with the error of principle, let's have this. Let's say the purchase of the machine worth 200 kwacha is debited to the purchaser's account instead of being debited to the machine or account. So how do we make journal entry for this? Or how do you correct this error? So it is a purchase of the machine. Okay. If you purchase a machine, you are supposed to debit the machine or account. So instead, you debited the purchaser's account. So how do you correct the error? You credit the purchaser's account and you debit the machine or account with the same amount. That's correct the error. The compensating errors on number 4. It's another example. Get for how. Let's have the compensating errors. So compensating errors. So the sales account is overcast with 400 kwacha, and as is the wages account. So the trial balance would still balance. But how do you correct the error? So you debit sales account and then you credit the wages account. So you debit sales account the wages account. What about the error of original entry? Let's say there is a cell of about a 10 budget, you know, to balance. Let's say you have 38, you take the difference, 38 minus 38, that gives us 10. So the question is that which account should receive this 10 kwacha and which account should give out the 10 kwacha? So the correct entry would be SMAR's account has to receive or should receive the 10 kwacha, and then the sales account is supposed to be credited, meaning it gives out the 10 kwacha. This is the correct journal entry that you make. We have an example on the complete reversal of entries. Complete reversal of entries. A payment of cash of 16 to M. Dixon was entered on the receipt side of the cash book. You paid Dixon, but you know that when you are paying somebody, they are receiving, so you debit their account. Instead of debiting this on Dixon, so number one, you have to pay back Dixon the 16 kwacha that you got from him, and then you give him 16 that you're supposed to give him. That makes it 32 kwacha. So in short, Dixon is supposed to be debited with the 32 kwacha instead of the 16 kwacha. Why 32? Because the first 16 kwacha is for the amount that you got from his account that belonged to him, and then the other that you are supposed to give him. So you debit Dixon 32 kwacha, and you credit the cash book or the cash account. So you credit the cash account, you debit the Dixon's account. Transposition error. Okay, let me do the transposition error, then I'll have time for questions. A credit purchase from P. McLaren costing 56 kwacha was entered in the box as 65. So you see the difference of 65 minus 56, that makes it 9. So there's a difference of 9. That's what you credited. So instead of crediting 56, you credited him 65. Okay, that was too much by 9. So how do you correct the error? So first, you debit him, you give him 9 kwacha, you give him kwacha, meaning you debit by 9 kwacha, and then you give a short narration as usual. You say the transposition error is now rectified or corrected. So do I have any questions? I think I've talked too much. Any question? You guys are not asking today. No, I have questions. Or it's clear? Oh, okay. It's good that it's clear. Let's just have this short exercise. Very short. Can you give an example of each of different types of error which are not reviewed by a trial balance? The errors that don't affect the trial balance. You already know them, but just talk about the error of commission, principle, and all those errors that we talked about. They are the solution. Area of interest is the 32, like in 32 says Show the journal entries necessary to correct errors. Okay, these errors. Number one, on A, the sale of goods for 12 to M Timon had been entered T month's account. You know that this is the error of commission where I got two persons account and the amount is entered on person's account. So the class of the account is just the same or is correct. So yeah. So how do you make the journal entry for this one? I'll show you the journal entry soon. On B, the purchase of a machine on credit from J. Frank for 619 had been completely omitted from our books. You know that this is basically the error of what? Of omission. We have omitted some entries. So that's the error of omission. I'll show you the journal entry soon. For transaction C, the purchase of a computer for 550 had been error in office expenses account. So the wrong classes of account. What type of an error is that? What type of an error is that, guys? Oh, the error of principle. Yeah, the error of principle, where you have got the different classes, okay? Transaction is entered in the wrong class of accounts. You need to be fully acquainted with the different types of or different classes of accounts that we have. We have the personal accounts, and you have the real accounts where you record assets of the business and the nominal accounts. So the personal accounts, real accounts, and the nominal accounts. Yeah, I'm saying the nominal accounts. Yeah. Yeah. So just have a very quick revision on that, and then you'll be fine. So these are the journal entries that you needed to make. So on A, this journal entry, you debit Timo and you credit T Mon. Transaction B, you debit the machinery account and you credit J Frank at the same amount. On C, you debit the computer and credit the office expenses account. It's basically the same thing that I have talked about again and again. Do I just have any question? So these are the journal entries that you actually need to make. Any question, guys? You don't have any questions? Okay, thank you very much and just have a good day.